Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the 505 Podcast. Holy shit, baby. Come on. Episode number 34?
34, yeah, 34.
Let's go, dude. And it's just you and me. We're just holding down the fort.
Where is Chase?
He's actually outside running sprints.
Yeah.
So we're coaches today.
He was talking back. He was talking a little shit. We said,
get your ass out to that field and fucking start running.
Take a lap.
He's doing suicides right now on the field. So he'll be back in like an hour right when we wrap up. But dude, I'm really excited for this pod. It's been a big one, a long time coming.
We've been waiting on this one.
I know, and I feel like I've been thinking about this specific episode since I started like a year ago doing this project.
Yeah.
And now by the time you guys are listening to this, the wait list is open to thecreatorcoach.com, baby. Come on, let's go.
Oh, dude.
Oh shit, I'm sorry. I got a rock on
your
my
fucking finger. Can we get a close up of that?
Yeah, we could get a close up of that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, if you're just listening to the pod, you got to go watch and see what
serious hardware.
Go check out the rock. But I had to bring it out today because this is a special episode, and I got Kostas all fitted in a Lakers, team polo.
I look like I'm ready to coach,
Dude, I think we could totally coach.
I'm ready to yell at some fucking kids.
Yeah, I think that's.
Johnny, what the fuck was that?
Why did you do that bad cut? That's funny. But dude, I think that this is crazy to like where we're at right now, where I thought I was a year ago in this whole entire game of content creation, filmmaking. Like, it's just nuts. It's insane.
It's been really cool to see your progress, and also I know you've been working on this for so fucking long, and it's awesome to like now see you done with it. This kid has put in so many sleepless nights. You guys have no idea, trying to bring you guys the best product possible. So I'm excited to get into it and give these kids a little tips.
Let's do it. I'm ready, dude. Let's go.
So, but before we get into that, I did have one thing I wanted to say. Okay, if she's a 10, but she shoots on a Nikon,
3.
I'd agree.
Dude, I don't want to hate on Nikon, but it's just like innovate, figure it out, make an adjustment. And someone and I some guy we were DMing today, he goes, what's your like actual hate with it? I'm like, they're just trash, and that's all there is to it.
It's also just humor.
There's just no way around it, you know? Pick a good brand and stick with it, please.
You know what's also really funny about recording a podcast about sports specifically today? Free agency started for NBA.
Oh my gosh. Insane.
And actually, I haven't seen you all day, and I wanted to ask you, like, you must have some inside tips.
I don't know shit about what's going on.
Brayden, don't hold out on me.
No, I genuinely have no idea. I was literally down at practice today, and I'm getting texts like, KD just is leaving. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And then you hear like people talking about it, obviously, because like the coaches were on the side, and some coaches are like posted up. Like the younger coaches are like posted up, like doing score stuff, So like every time I walk by them, I'm like, yo, what's up? And they're like, dude, Kyrie just left too. I'm like, yo, dude, what is going on? And they're like, max contract for Luka. I'm like, okay, like what's happening right now? It's the Wild West, and it's going to be like this for till tomorrow, I believe, right?
I don't know much about how free agency works.
By the time this goes out though, this is going to be like old news, but yeah, it's crazy. I don't know much about it either, but I do know that we're getting some people, obviously. It sounds like we got a few guys, and it sounds like people want to come to the Lakers. I don't know what's happening.
I mean, dude, why wouldn't you?
LA's the best.
Get to play with LeBron.
Best
You get
city
to be
in
LA.
Come on.
I heard Michael Jordan's actually coming out of retirement, wants to play with LeBron.
He wants to play the Lakers. That's awesome.
Would be sick. Okay, so let's get into your course.
Okay.
Because I have a lot of questions.
Okay, I'm ready.
And the kids got a lot of questions too. So let's start out with, why did you decide to make this course?
Okay. When I was going into videography back in when I was really serious about it, I'd say this was 2017. And I would DM these people on Instagram that were just doing cooler stuff than I was. And they were so secretive of the information, and it really pissed me off. It put like a very sour taste in my mouth. And for those of you that know me or listen to this pod, we've probably talked if you listen to the pod. And when I say to DM me on IG with any questions, I really mean that. And that was because of these shitty people that I had to deal with when I was starting. And I vowed, I was like, dude, when I'm sick at this, I'm going to fucking help the next gen of creators. And I'm going to make that a known thing and make it a part of my brand. So then I genuinely, I have weird OCD about having 0 requests in my inbox.
Me too.
I hate it. I hate emails. Like my phone is at 0 messages. Like I'm always at 0 everything. So once I started, and it's crazy because it started out just like one person every 2 weeks or something. I get a request and I was like so excited. I'm like, oh my God, I finally got somebody to DM me. And now I wake up and it's like 27 or something. And some days it's like 47. And it just all depends on if a TikTok video goes off and people see it and like come ask me questions. But that's how I've learned to be a good coach. And I did a program last year that was all based around just more beginner videography. And as I've gotten better at sports and more into this, I'm like, I've helped so many kids get jobs at top universities, at the Pistons, at like all these different cool NBA teams and a lot of college teams and some even high school. It just all depends on where people are at in their journey. And I was like, this is a legitimate thing that I'm good at. And I enjoy coaching people almost low key more than I do making stuff, which is kind of weird. It's a super weird feeling to have. I never thought I'd have it.
I have a similar feeling.
You know,
when a kid asks me questions about, photography or film, I think it's just because we're so passionate about it. I also think it just feels so good to be able to like give a kid some knowledge. Yeah. But I feel you. I remember I was like that even when I like played baseball. I was like, when I would help out somebody younger in like, if you're in high school and you're helping out like a little league kid, I would get more out of helping a kid with like his swing or pitching, whatever it may be, more so than actually playing the game. I don't know what that is, but it's pretty cool.
I don't either. And the messages, like the feeling that I get when I get a message, it's like, yo, and I never thought when I was starting that I would get those messages. Yeah. And now that those are happening, it's like, yo, like you changed my life. And I'm like, what? I'm just a dude. Like I just make videos on the internet type of thing. It's a really weird feeling, but at the same time, it's like, it's so fulfilling to see anybody find success with something that I helped them with. Yeah. And I love that. And I'm like, I really do have the answers because I've done it already.
Man's got that sauce.
I do. I mean, and it's interesting because I think that the idea of having like a mentor or a coach is still very new. And when I started, I would die for this program. Yeah. Like genuinely. Like I think that it's crazy nowadays in 2022, you can pay for what you want to learn. If you want to go be a mechanic or whatever, you can find someone that does X thing and go take said course and become good at it. And like the credit card thing, this is just a random example. Like you genuinely could go take someone's course on credit cards and learn a ton of information about credit cards and then be able to hack the system. And so now in 2022, we see these online digital coaches basically like helping people reach their goals. And I think it's really cool. And I was like, this could be a serious thing that I'm passionate about. And so a year ago, I started working on this program and I've made like 40 something videos and I'm going to keep adding to it. But I did it differently this time because I was like, I went to the University of Oregon, right? And I'm sure that a lot of people that are listening to this might be in school, might be about to go to school, or you've graduated from college. And like, it pains me to say this, but so many of those classes were so boring and such a waste of money. And my tuition was $200,000, right? My course is $497, and I can wholeheartedly say that any college class, this is better than any college class I ever took. I spent a whole year making decks to go along with these videos because, like, who wants to be lectured at? I hate being lectured at, Yeah. So I was like, how can you make this like as interactive for all different types of learners? And so I have, a video of me actually talking, and then I have a slide deck that's on my iPad that I'm like drawing on. And then everyone gets the deck for life. So if you're like, oh, I don't want to really watch a video and I'm already in the program, you can just pop up the Aperture deck or whatever and find out what you want to learn. And
another thing that I think is so cool about what you're doing is you're giving these kids one-on-one time as well. It's not like you're just selling them the course and then they don't have access to you. Like you're giving them access to you to ask you any questions that you have. And going back to what you're saying about having a mentor, like that is the key for damn near any field.
It gets you where you want to go.
And way faster.
Way faster. That's the whole thing.
I think that, taking this course is going to help a lot of kids land that job in college or for the pros, or land their first sports client, even if it's outside of college or the pros, whatever it may be. So yeah, this thing is going to help a lot of people and get to where they want to be a lot faster.
Back in the day, when people would say fast, it used to really piss me off because I'm like, that's not possible to get said place faster. And then I invested in a mentor for something else. I paid like $3,000 for this, which is so much money to drop on a mentor, especially when you're a little questionable about it. And when I did it, I was like, oh my God. I'm like, this dude, said person spent the past 10 years learning this thing and helped me with it. And now instead of this taking me 3 years, it took me 2 months.
And that's the whole thing.
And I know that it is, because time is money.
Exactly.
So it's like you could be, a soft, or you could be 24 or whatever, and you're still super young or whatever. And you're like, I want to get into sports. And this is a really cool thing to be able to like teach you how to actually be able to do that, and like what it takes to make the best quality content at the highest level.
Totally.
And that's what I want to help people with. I think it's like where you're at right now. Let's find that point and let's figure out what it is that's holding you back.
Yeah.
And usually it's like 4 things make a great video: audio, video, color, story. Those are the 4 things that make up a great piece of content. And usually when I watch people's stuff, because I get sent videos every day, and dude, I remember when I first got to the Lakers, my creative director would just rip into me. And she's the best. She's like incredible. But she was like teaching me all these things because I was never taught a direct process. I would just make cool stuff that I liked, So I was in this environment where I was learning so much from this like incredibly smart woman, and she's just teaching me all these things about like what makes the content perform good. And so then I would take that and I would do it to random people on the internet. And that's how I learned to coach people. And I was like, oh, okay, why isn't Billy getting this? Like, what am I? Because like I'm getting it. She's helping me do this, right? And I was like, okay. And now it's crazy because like I've learned a system I know how to make a good video. It's like, it's a system. And so is sports. Shooting sports is systematic. Shooting ads is not systematic. Very, very different things. And sports is it's ritualistic. So, every game, right? Like LeBron does the same 17 things before every game, and I know them all. And so does every single player. They all have like one interesting thing. Like
sure.
Russ throws the ball at the back of the board, like right before we're about to do layup lines or something, and he just yells "fuck" like really loud every single time, every game. It's like the security guy's right there, and he like moves out of the way. So it's interesting. So like you start to pick up on those things, and that helps you be able to tell these stories on a deeper level because you've been around said team, and you're like, okay, this is it, at the 1 minute mark, this is what's going to happen. LeBron's chalk toss, this is what's going to happen. Russ runs to the corner before every game, to the exact specific corner opposite the team bench. Those are things that you just can't know unless you do it, and unless you're like paying attention to those little things. And I think it helps. Like I was an athlete and I had weird tendencies like that.
Sure.
So that helps because I know I used to have those things. I used to do specific things with my gloves or whatever.
You're superstitious?
Yeah, I was super superstitious. So I had like these same socks, the same belt, and like things like that. So, and guys at the highest level do that too. So it's cool to like pay attention to that and then be able to make great work because of knowing those inside things.
Yeah, I think just shooting sports, I also noticed that as well with like shooting music, just being able to like anticipate certain shots. It's huge. And the thing is that comes with time. You're not going to know the team's routine, what certain players typically do. You're not going to know. For me, for example, shooting DJs, I feel like now I have a pretty good idea for like what song Joe or Andrew's going to get up on the decks, or when they're going to jump, or do certain things. But anticipating shots before they happen is the best way to ensure that you get great shots. Now, I do want to we're going to get into more tips for shooting pro specifically. I do want to take it back to talking about when you were at Oregon. Before you got your job at Oregon shooting for the Ducks, how much experience did you have shooting sports, and what initially made you want to get into shooting sports specifically? I had never shot sports, actually, before I got that job, but I had done a ton of random, like barbers, sororities, like real estate. I was doing and fitness. So I had came down to LA for that summer, and a girlfriend that I knew, she was like, hey, I'm leaving this job and you should apply. It's a great opportunity for you. And shout out Callan. She's like amazing. She works in the NFL now. She's a badass. And so she tells me to apply for this job. I'm like, okay. Sounds good. I'm on it.
But then I got this huge opportunity working for this like famous fitness influencer down in LA. And so now I'm making like money, and I have like more than $50 in my bank account. You know, I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, I'm rich.
What are we buying?
Yeah, what are we buying? You know, I'm buying like camera gear, like my stuff's looking better. And so I'm so zoned in on this LA thing with this guy, and we're traveling. We're going to Vegas, like all these random places. And I'm like, I forget to apply. And so I apply late. And then like a few days later, I get a call from the head of marketing, and he goes, yo, you think you're like sick because you applied late? And I'm like, no, I didn't mean to do that. And I explained what I was doing. I'm like, really sorry about that. And he goes, yeah, so when are you going to come up and start working for us? And I was like, oh my God, okay. Yeah, like sign me up. Let's do this, you know? So I went back up to school early, and that was like my first time ever shooting anything was we did a uniform video for like one of their electric yellow uniforms on the field. And I was like, oh, I can do a drone. Like, let's do the drone. I made this like super sick video with the drone. And I was like, okay. Because I was an athlete all throughout my entire life, you know, I played baseball forever, and then I wrestled in high school. So I was missing that competitive aspect of, you know, of life. And also I was an interesting kid. Like I had this wall in my mom's house. She still has it. It's like a little picture. I have pretty solid ADD and OCD. And so I'm always jumping to like new things. And this wall has like 37 things that I would try for like a month, and I'd get good at it, and then I'd be like, peace, I'm out, and I wouldn't do it ever again. And my mom thought it was the weirdest thing, and we didn't know that I was like this at the time, you know? So fast forward to now, and I think the only thing is stuck in my life is the gym and is videos. That's it.
I was going to say, you are looking pretty big
Thanks,
these days.
dude. Come on. The gym and videos. And I think videos stuck with me so hard because it's always changing. And you never can be being the best at it. That's how I think. I'm like always trying to be the best at making videos, and it's like damn near impossible to like put something on that, you know? So that idea has kept it so fun for me because, you know, you meet someone that's done it for 10 more years than you, and I'm like, holy shit, I just learned 5 things today. And I think I'm really good at this, but I know I'm not the best yet. You know, so it's a really fun thing for me to be able to keep telling these stories and see the progress from even my Lakers videos last year are terrible compared to the ones I make this year. And I thought those were so sick.
And isn't it so cool to see your progression?
Yeah, it's crazy, but you don't notice it. You
100%.
know, I made probably like 400 videos last year, dude. I crank behind the sticks, you know? And that's why I've gotten good at it fast, is because I put in, when I was in college, I was staying up until 3 or 4 a.m. every single night editing videos. I'd come back from the bars and I would edit videos until 3 or 4 in the morning with Chloe sleeping like on the bed, just knocked out. Like that was how I learned. And I was so obsessive with this stuff that I just fell in love with the entire part of that process.
What was it like shooting your first game? And was it football?
Yeah, it was definitely an Oregon Ducks football game. And I remember we got there early. We had to get there like 4 hours early. I was like, dude, what is even going on 4 hours early? There's so much stuff to like cover. And you get down on the field, and Autzen is made so when the opposing team is like driving, the crowd noise makes it sound like like a fighter jet going through. You cannot hear the person next to you, literally right next. It's the craziest thing. So like that's why they're trying to do all their calls and stuff, and the other team can't figure out their calls. But anyways, I'm down there and I'm like, holy shit, dude, like I'm on the field right now. Like I feel incredible. Like this is insane. And I think that first game I don't think I was necessarily getting the best stuff because I was just so starstruck. Yeah. But like I'm on the field, dude.
It's very overwhelming.
It's super overwhelming. There's so much stimulus going on that you're like, there's crowds. The cheerleaders are doing flips, and oh my God, I just missed a touchdown. That's sick. So I had to figure out like a system and a process for how I was actually going to shoot the games, because when I was young, I would just show up. And that's what a lot of people do. You just show up. And the difference between pros and rooks is there's a plan. I have a plan every time I go to the game. I'm like, okay, you know, say the storyline, for example. Like one of the storylines last year was like one of the rookies, Austin Reeves. He's like gets called up to the big team. He was on the G League, and he just starts getting minutes, and he's eating. So, you know, in the next game for pregame, I'm focusing on Austin. I'm trying to get like a clean shot of him, a clean, crispy B-roll piece that they can put up that hypes up the fans for Austin that day. You know, so you're coming up with these storylines with your social team, and some people don't. Some people, it's just, if at a smaller place, you know, in college, you might just have like one person who's doing the storylines and making the stuff. But we have a really talented social team. So they're like, pronging us with these storylines like, hey, look out for this tonight. And then when Austin was there, I'm getting like great stuff of him, and then he gets called in and he gets big shots up. It's like that's what the fans go nuts for.
Totally.
And you're like, also it's really weird because you're not just a shooter. You're also in charge of like understanding what is happening with the team for that specific game. Oh, Bron's in year 18 right now, and nobody thinks he should be averaging triple doubles. Great. LeBron just keeps doing it because he's LeBron James. And so that's like when he does go off for a triple double, it's like hammer down on showing the world how sick LeBron James is, remind them in case they forgot. So it's interesting because my point of view on that whole thing has changed, where it was like, oh, like, how do you shoot sports? I just show up with the camera, and that's what rookies do. Rookies just show up. I go with a very dedicated plan of like how I want to attack said game.
I think going back to what you were saying earlier about there's 4 things that make up a great story. I think something that when you're first starting out, at least when I was first starting out, something that I didn't think about at all was audio.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to convey a story, there's only so much that certain shots can get. It's the videos that I think are the best and convey story the best intertwine great shots with like great audio clips. And with sports, you can, get the announcers, you can get the actual players, if they're mic'd up, or you can shotgun mic or whatever it may be, the fans as well. There's so many different ways that you can incorporate audio into that. And I think audio, just if video in general, is like, that's such a key component into being able to convey that story that you're trying to tell.
Yeah, it's really overlooked, and we get blessed with these announcers because they give you like stories to build off of, and simultaneously the haters give you stories to build off of, because if they're saying, oh, he'll never do X, Y, and Z, it's like, well, he did it, so we kept the receipts, and you see teams doing that. Like the Chargers are really good at that. People were talking mad shit on Justin Herbert earlier in the year, and their social team's like incredible, so they made this like this insane piece of content that had all these shitty tweets that people were saying about him, and they're like, yeah, well, he's that guy, so have fun with that one. It's just fun.
100%. I also think that, like, man, if you guys are trying to get into shooting sports, really any specific niche within video in this case, but like, study the fucking pros.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's what I would do. I would download their this is the hack, man. I would go on Vimeo. When I found sick guys, go on Vimeo, I'd steal all their videos. I'd download them, right? Throw them in Premiere. I put them at 25% speed, and I would just write how long they're holding on each shot.
Yeah.
Are they doing effects? Why aren't they doing effects? What's the focal length here? What's the aperture that they're shooting at? What's the color like? Is it dark and moody? Is it bright? Is it happy? And there's so many different things that you can use. And when I first started in sports, I had no idea about that shit. So I'm just shooting everything on a 15 to 35 lens at f4 because it's all I had. I didn't have anything else. And I'm shooting on a crop sensor, like whatever, I'm just ripping it. And now I have such a more meticulous way of like planning in my head, like what I want to do. I'm like, okay, well, I've already got this specific shot at 24. Let me get the exact same shot at 85.
Totally.
And it tells a completely different story than it does at 24.
Yeah.
And so does that with aperture, right? Like one example I can think of is like, there was a game where it was a pretty big game. I can't remember what it was, but LeBron was on the bench, and it was so cool because you could see all these lights behind him. Everyone had their phone out, like taking stories. And I was like, oh shit, I need the 85. I need 1.4 or 1.8 or something. And I cranked it up to like 1.8, and it just looked insane behind him. And it's like gave that man in the arena, like they're here for you, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just like super cool to see. And that shot at f1.8 is completely different than that shot at f4 or f6. It's not the same at all. It's completely, it makes your viewer feel a completely different feeling. And that's what's cool about this camera stuff, is like you really do have the potential to make someone feel an emotion when they watch your stuff, and that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's something that very few people are capable of doing.
I think using that tip of using a much more wide open aperture when focusing on a single player versus, let's say, like a crowd, because I could see you wanting to shoot the crowd at like a football game. Let's say you could shoot it at like f7 or f8, get most of the crowd in focus. It's rare that you're probably going to want to focus on a single person in the crowd, right? So let's say you're shooting at like 16 mil the crowd at f7.1, and you have, the juxtaposition or like the different type of shot. Now you're shooting a single player at 85.18. Like there's a difference there.
Totally.
And those two shots are going to look completely different, but it's knowing the tools and like having a plan and not just like understanding how your tools work and going in with intention for each shots. So a lot of kids who are, listening to this podcast are younger. Either they're in high school or college. What tips would you give to someone either going into college or already in college and like wanting to start shooting sports specifically?
If you're in high school, you're like 12 years ahead, like seriously, you're so ahead of the game if you're in high school. Cause I know so many talented people that got into it like after college.
Totally.
I've met a ton of like insanely talented creatives that were like, I was in tech or something. I was in sales. I hated my job, got into this and I love it. And now I'm 27 and I do what I love. So I think that there's an interesting thing that everybody thinks like, yo, I got to graduate and I need to be like at my dream job. And it's so false. So false. It's a really bad thing that our society has on us. Like that. And I think it's made it worse with the internet. And even though I love the internet, it's a huge problem with it. It's like this comparison game. But if you're in high school, you're way ahead. If you're interested in this stuff, like you have so much of an advantage over everybody else.
Totally.
You can screw around for 4 years, and by the time you get to college, you're ready to go. You've already practiced for 4 years or whatever. But I think in high school, it's important to shoot all those games, in every single game. Go to tennis, go to football, go to basketball, badminton, whatever. Like literally learn how to tell a story for every single sport. Because if you can tell a story for badminton, you're going to be insane at telling a story for football because it's easier. It's way harder to tell a story for that, right? So like challenging yourself with these different sports, swimming, whatever, like how can you tell the story of tennis better than you did the last time? So you get that opportunity and you get, if you're in high school, you're the same age as these people and you're probably some of their friends. So that relationship helps you get better shit. So, get in with the football team and make them stuff, make all those channels content. Because then when you're in college, I would have had such an easy pitch. I was making good work though. But if I wasn't making good, like the best work, right? And I was in high school and I could go to show the creative director at, say, Oregon, like, yo, I went and I did the entire football team's videos for this year and I made 27 videos and this is how they performed, whatever. I'm like, holy shit, this kid's my dude. This is what I want. I can train and mold this person into a great creative, who's just excelling. So if you're in high school, take advantage of the fact that you have all of the access and you will never have that much access ever again. Yeah. So high school is like a great place to start. And if you happen to be in college, the best route to go is to get an internship with like the creative services department at whatever school you go to and try and shoot as many sports as you can, because the portfolio building and the time that you have in college, you'll never have that time back ever again. Same with high school. Like you're never going to be that free and you don't have a wife, you don't have kids, you don't have a job, you don't have bills, you know what I'm saying? So that's a prime time to get into it in high school.
Yeah.
College, like you probably do have bills. A lot of you guys will be like working for your college and whatnot, but the example really is for like the high school, I'd say.
Yeah. I think just taking advantage to, shoot sports, if that's what you want to shoot, like go out of your way to like, shoot that, even if you're not getting paid for it, build up your portfolio so you can show, the creative director or whatever it may be for that sports department, like some of your work at college. And if you're in college, like apply for an internship or try to get access any way you can. Even
like I've talked to a lot of people that are, in their 30s or whatever. They're like, yo, I want to get into sports, right? And I think the easiest way, if you're out of school and say you've never done it, you got to find a way to DM or like something, get in contact with athletes that are doing field workouts. Cause then you can go to, the football field on Saturday and you make a sick video, or you practice and you're not good yet. And you're like, yo, Mike, every time you guys come out here on Saturday, I would love to be here. Who the fuck doesn't want free stuff?
Yeah.
Everybody wants free stuff, So that's how you can build up your portfolio and start making better stuff. Cause no one's going to, for the most part, I was an exception. You're not going to ever get paid to do something for the most part that you've never done.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's a no-brainer. So go make free stuff and go make things that you're passionate about. Like I'm telling you guys, the most money you'll ever make as a creative is by making free stuff. And I believe it, because you could go you go get 5 of your buddies, and this is unmatched. You're only as good you can only go so far as one person. So if you can, and you have the resources and you can DM people, because we all have Instagram, we all have TikTok, like DM a buddy, and there's one other person in whatever town you live in that's interested in this shit, interested in photography, whatever, and come up with a story of some kind and be like, how can we, there might be a kid in your town that's from some small town America, right? And this kid just got a D1 offer at Bama. That's a story. He's getting out of there. He's going to the biggest school in the world now, or one of the biggest schools in the country. So figure out how you can befriend this guy and tell the stories that are otherwise never going to get heard.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool thing that and a lot of athletes, I think, come from backgrounds that aren't like private school,
Totally.
You know what I'm saying? And a lot of kids have to work 75 times harder than the kid that went to the private school. That's a story, dude.
And everybody loves an underdog.
Yeah, dude. Everybody loves an underdog. And like, if you have the privilege of being at a school where a person is going to go D1 or D2 or whatever, D3, it doesn't even matter. It's just a person playing a sport. Tell a story. Figure out how you could interview them. Sit them down at their parents' house and be like, "How long you been doing this, man? Tell me. Tell me the story of like your life and how you got into this." And I think that's what's missing. Everybody just makes fucking hype videos. They ruined it, dude. Everybody makes hype videos. Who gives a shit? Anybody. I can go on YouTube and find 49 kids like this that make hype videos. Make yourself different.
Yeah.
Make yourself stand out. Have pieces that make when someone watches something be like, oh my God. Like we want people to take a breath and be like, whoa.
Yeah.
This person went above and beyond, and they're at the person's family dinner.
Yeah.
Like, who has access like that?
Yeah.
So figure out how you can, talk to people. People want to tell their own, like if I was an athlete
Totally.
and I was insane, I'm an insane running back and I'm from wherever, I want my story told.
Yeah.
So figure out how you can link up with people like that, because you provide value as a creative, and it's only becoming more sought after right now. I call it the creator boom. I've said it, dude. It's the creator boom right now. The creator economy is going to be worth so much money in 5 years. It's like insane. You have influencers, you got creatives, you got like production companies. There's a million different things that you can pop into right now. And like, even in the sports world, right? Like you have people that work at these NBA teams. Okay. Like me, for example. On the other side of it, you have people that work directly for the NBA. That's a whole different genre, right? They're only shooting the games. You have another subset of people that work for like a social media platform, like Slam Magazine or something like that. You have people that work with agents, right? I have two good friends, Cam, Cool Mac, a lot of you might have seen his work, right? Like he's shooting the Laker games, but he's not shooting it for the Lakers. He's shooting it for a publication. He's usually shooting for Slam, I believe is who he shoots with, right? And then my buddy Daryl, an insanely talented dude as well, he's shooting for Clutch. So they didn't go the team route, and they're still there. They're still doing the same thing that I'm doing. They do photos, but so there's more than one way to break into it. I think that everybody thinks in their head like, yo, I got to work for the Lakers or the Nets or, the biggest teams.
Or bust,
right? Yeah. And that's a terrible mindset to have, because you can still get there.
Yeah.
And you never know the situation at these teams. They could have the worst culture like ever, and they might work their people to death. Right? So fuck that. Why would you want to do that? You want to go to a place that makes you feel welcomed and gives a fuck about what you're doing. So it's important to really think about that, because I've had friends around the league that have been at teams and been like, yo, these guys are insane. They're working us to death. Like, we're working insane hours and they're rude to us. So why should we do great work? Completely agree. Yeah. Go move somewhere else, dude. So it's very interesting that I talk to a lot of people, and that is their mindset, is like, say Lakers or bust, for example, right? It's like, no, like go, and you never know the access that you'll get. And that's important to think about, because say hypothetical, right? Let's just pretend I was at Oregon and I can't even get on the field. Dude, what's the point of that? Go to a D2 school where I can go literally be friends with these guys and make better shit. Right? So like, it's this huge perspective shift that I had when I started talking to all of these people, these friends that I meet in sports. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because my old mindset would be like best or nothing. But that's not the case, really. You want to get in where you can fit in well and have a cool boss and like people that are passionate and talented around you that are going to help you grow and get to that next level. And then if you want to move in a year, you move in a year.
Yeah.
It's like figuring out what's the absolute best spot for you and keeping an open mind.
Didn't that guy Omar, who he started like House of Highlights, right?
Yes, yeah.
And now he works for ESPN.
And I don't even. He's a dog, man.
Yeah.
That guy is sick.
But I feel like that's a really good example
great
of someone
example.
who is like, I'm gonna make videos, you know, for these high school kids. Of course, they all want content, and they're all like big recruits. And like, I think at the time, not many people were doing those types of videos, and he grew it to what it is now, and ended up now he gets access to all these sports games and gets to work for ESPN. So
That's
it's like,
insane.
yeah, again, it's like create your own path and go out of your way to get that content, and don't wait for the opportunity to present itself.
I shot something with Adidas like a minute ago, and it was high school. It was a high school tournament, right? And it was like a narrative piece. We're following around these like different high school teams or whatever. And I was thinking while I'm there, I'm like, there's a lot of content creators that were just there, and I'm like, dude, if I was 20, I would pay I'd just come in here with my camera and I'd shoot this shit, like, and I'd give it to these guys or girls or whatever you're covering, and then bam, I got portfolio content. And if Jimmy likes it, Jimmy's gonna be like, yo, dude, come to the next thing, and I'm gonna pull up, and then I'm gonna make better stuff. I'm gonna keep getting practice in. You can take the work ethic of sports is the same shit as getting good at videos with the sports stuff.
Totally.
It's the same exact, it's repetition, it's practice, consistency, and you're going to figure it out as you go. It's trial and error.
I think what you said is interesting, is get a portfolio piece.
Yeah.
I feel like having a good reel is super important to getting jobs, right?
I'm sent reels every day, and a very common theme that I'm noticing with them is a lot of them are too long. So like, keep your reels short and sweet. It doesn't need to be 4 minutes long. Make it a minute, dude. I don't have 5 minutes to watch the video. And think about this. The people that are watching these videos really don't have the fucking time. These people have been in meetings all day. They're tired. They've worked hard all day, right? Like, show them something that's going to wow them in a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes. I don't go 2 minutes. I'm a minute guy. That's just me. But I think a minute is like strong. Because if I blow your fucking mind with 97 of the craziest shots you've ever seen, you're like, dude, hire this guy. This guy's crazy. Look at it, dude. You know what I mean? So most of the time people put some decent shots, and then they have a shot that doesn't make any sense, and it's bad, and it ruins those first two shots. So you really got to go back and watch your video and be very critical of yourself. And it's the hardest thing to do as a creative, is be critical of your own work. It's very difficult to do because we're attached to it. We love the pieces that we're all passionate people. And so you got to go back and watch and be like, does this shot serve a purpose? And is it helping further what I'm trying to tell right here? Or could I find a better shot maybe that helps the story move on? You want that reel to be polished, because it's the first. I'm not going to go look at the other stuff. I'm looking at the reel, and if the reel intrigues me, then I'll go check out the other stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably, I don't hire people, right? I'm not a hired dude, but like, I'm assuming if I was hired, that's what I would do.
Totally.
And that's what I do with people that send me their work. So that's the process that I go through. So make a badass reel. And what's crazy is you don't have to be paid to make the reel. None of the videos in your reel, you don't have to be paid to make any of those. It's like, oh, what's this from? I went and shot this spec thing, whatever. If you make a great piece of content, people are going to hire you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're at the D4 school or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like people just want to see great work.
Totally.
And if you make great work, you're going to get jobs.
And if you're not able to be honest with yourself about certain shots in your reel, buy B Figgy's course and you get access to him, and he'll tell you if your reel's good or not.
I will definitely let you know about your reel.
Tell me about this March Madness story you were telling me about.
Oh my God.
In a bar?
Yeah. Oh my God. I remember March Madness, Elite 8 run, Oregon Ducks, my senior year. I lived in Vegas for like 3 weeks during March Madness. I skipped my finals, and I failed a class because of this, because I skipped all my finals. This was
It all worked out.
It all worked out. We made it out here, but
I failed 2 classes in college, if you guys were wondering.
Beast, you one up me. We're at Kentucky, and the managers and I are buddies. Like we've all been buddies for like school, right? And so we're like hanging out in this hotel, and I text them like, yo, what's the move tonight, boys? And they're like, let's go out. I'm like, all right, let's go out in the town.
Fired up.
Cheer girls are down to go out. I'm like, we're going out with the cheer squad managers.
Oh, the cheer squad's down to go out. We
So
gotta send
we're
it.
all going out. We go out to this bar, and we're all in duck swag. Like the boys are. The girls aren't.
Just dripped.
We're dripped out in duck swag, right? And we get in there, and this bartender looks at us, and he goes, yo. He leans over the table. He's like, are you guys the Ducks? And I look at the manager, and I'm like, what's the homie gonna say? And B goes, yeah, we are. We're the team, baby. He goes, but don't tell anybody because we're kind of the bench guys, you know, we're not supposed to be going out. And the guy's like, get the Ducks some drinks. And he's like getting the shots and stuff. And I'm like, this is insane. They're all in the house. And then everyone at this bar in Kentucky, we're in Louisville, and they're like, start hearing it. They're like, the Ducks are at the bar? Get the Ducks shots. And I think the funniest part though is because Louisville was in the tournament, so they're in their heads they're probably like, dude, let's get the team fucked up, so then they won't play good. But we're not even on the team, you know. Incredible. So we're getting all these free drinks from these guys, and it was just hilarious. It was a really fun night, and then we like went back and we had like our game the next day, but it was hilarious.
So you got to feel what it felt like.
I felt like a player. I was like, I'm the point guard. I'm the backup point guard.
Nice.
I bring the water to the backup point guard.
Boy, that's incredible, dude. Okay, so now you're shooting sports, or you're shooting pro sports, the Lakers specifically. Can you walk me through? Because I don't even think I've actually ever asked you this personally. Walk me through what a game day is like.
Yeah, so you get there pretty early. LeBron gets there like 4 hours
let's say
early.
The game is at 7 p.m.
7,
right?
6, 5, 4, 3. LeBron's getting there at like 3 or 2:30.
Okay.
And he's always first. So you get walk-ins. Sometimes I'd make an edit of walk-ins, but it depends.
What's a walk-in?
Like they walk in their swaggy fits.
Gotcha.
So they walk down the tunnel like all the Lakers
Hold
guys
on.
do.
You go to Staples.
Yeah, I go to Staples. I park my car. I go in. I set up camp.
Is the gear there? You have the gear here?
No, yeah, all the gear is here in my
Okay.
backpack. So I just bring my backpack, my laptop. It's filled with a bunch of fun stuff, my camera, all that good stuff. So we set up camp in the media room. We got like literally assigned seats, but they're unassigned. It's kind of funny. It's like, these are our seats,
Sure,
you know?
sick.
It's funny. But anyways, we go down. It's like NBA, few photographers. It's the opposing team's photographer.
You get food? What do we catering or
Yeah,
what?
yeah. Dinner's always catered.
Let's fucking go.
Staples Center has like the best. I've heard like the best dinner of any of these NBA.
I bet.
Teams. They chef. They give us some good food. So I don't eat then though. I eat after walk-ins happen. So
Gotcha.
walk-ins happen, and it's just like a waiting game. So we're just like kicking it. It's funny because we'll all be talking and then be like, "Oh God, LeBron's coming!" And like everybody like hops up, gets the video, and then we sit back down, and everybody's just chilling again. And it's like, Dwight's coming. Everybody get up, and then we all like get up, shoot, whatever, and then we go back. That ends. You go back and dump really quick, like your footage, or you eat, and then by that time, shoot arounds like they're starting to shoot. So like LeBron will go out, and then Dwight or whatever. And there's a schedule. They text it to us, so we have the schedule of like what times they're going out to shoot.
It's so interesting.
Yeah. So then we pop out. It's mostly photo content during that time.
Okay.
I've never used, besides in like a longer form piece, the video from that like pregame warm up.
Sure.
You know, we call that warm up. So that's just warm up. And then they're going out in groups of 2. Then they go back in the locker room, whatever. I'm just like kicking it out there, getting my timing down, following the ball a little bit. I'm not really recording any of this stuff.
You're maybe stretching out a little bit.
Yeah, I'm stretching, you know, because my job's super hard and I got to be ready to play. And so then...
Are you like, do you get like that pregame massage?
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to the training room.
Getting taped up.
Yeah, I'm getting my ankle taped. I'm ready to rock and roll. You know, so then they all go to the back, and that's when, you know, we're getting ready. We're getting all our stuff ready. I go hang out in the back to get their huddle, and they run out. And then I started doing this thing that I thought was fun where I'd like chase them out because it was just funny. And I just liked running behind them. And it was a really cool shot because the smoke is there and these lights are going crazy. So the Laker girls are posted up right there. They're stretching out. They're getting all fired up. And the guys are in another room with like a closed door. And then we bust out the door, and then they run, right? Like this security guy opens the door, and Laker girls are like, "Woo, let's go!" And then they run down the line. Then they're out there. That's pregame now. Now we're at pregame. Pregame, they do their layup lines, all that good stuff, and it's again systematic. AD does his sky hook. Russ comes with a dunk. It's like it's funny. Anyways, that ends. They get in a circle. They do their thing. They do their walkouts. You know, the call outs, whatever their names. LeBron, who's starting, whatever. And then after
from Akron, Ohio,
LeBron James. And then he goes and does the chalk toss. Russ runs to the corner. Boom, game starting. I'm getting to my spot. First quarter's up. We shoot the whole first quarter. You're in a designated seat. And it's like that in college too. And I mean, in high school, you probably get more wiggle room. You probably do whatever you want. You could probably go in the stands. But college, pros, you're in an assigned seat, which is tough. And I've heard that other teams are more lenient about this, so it really does depend on the arena. But like we're sitting in our seats, that's your spot.
It would be so cool if they were just like,
go ahead. We'd
yeah.
be if I was sitting on the court side, like on a court side seat, that was empty. Oh my
Yeah.
God, we'd get like movie stuff, but can't do that. I wish, but shoot the first quarter, shoot the second quarter, half. You go dump your card again. We come out for quarter 3, quarter 4, and then we get if we had a great game. Someone will maybe catch a walk-off interview of a player, whoever went off that game. They talk to ESPN. Then we go back to the back. We sort all of our footage and log it because this is crazy. After every Laker game, we go through and we mark all the clips that were made buckets. And that way, when we go to make mixes and stuff like that, highlight tapes, whatever, it's like LBJ dunk and 1,000 will pop up. And it makes your job way easier because at Oregon, I never did that. So I just have like drives of random shit. And I'm never going to go back through that stuff because I just don't care. It's too much work. But if I ever wanted to find a LeBron James dunk, I could find it in 2 seconds. Same with a chalk toss, whatever. Every single clip is labeled that's good. And that's really helpful. And when I first got there, I was like, this is insane. God, why are we doing this? It helps a lot. And it makes editing way easier. Then we do the post-game stuff. Spectrum Sports sends us the post-game media. We upload that to YouTube and to the website for the Lakers, and we grab a little dinner, and then we're done. And then we're out.
You're editing stuff, though, during the game, aren't you?
Oh, I forgot. I completely forgot about the workflow, like, during the game. So, like, first quarter, I get a sick dunk. There's a group chat, the video team, the photo team, and the social team. It's usually one person running point from social. So they text us. They go, yo, Bron dunk, ? And then we'll be like, got him, or thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever. And it's like, God damn, I missed the shot. So then we're firing off content in Slack to our social team. In a matter of like, I can get a clip sent off. I've timed it in under 3 minutes.
That's
sometimes
insane.
even like 2 minutes if I'm just firing, if just every button's working, right? So I throw it in, edit it really quick on my phone, shoot it off to the social team, throw a cool color grade on it. Boom, he's got it. And he's got the copy. He's the copy man, copy girl or copy man, depends, He posts it up, he or she, and the play's up. And in a matter of 5 minutes, the photo and the video is up, which is crazy. And it's from a cinema camera. That's insane. It's a crazy system.
A similarity between the two things that we shoot, right? Between sports and music. Turnaround time's everything.
Yeah, and it's crazy because when I first got into college sports, I was like, this is so dumb. Why are we doing this so late? But the thing is the shelf life of that's it. It's an hour, And by tomorrow, the Mavs Luka had a 45-point game.
Yeah.
And then no one cares about what the Lakers did the day before, So all of it has to be turned around so quickly. It's the same thing with music. It's like, oh, another DJ. There's another festival tomorrow.
There's a show tomorrow.
So we need the stuff to post, you know? So it's like very urgent in what needs to be produced that night that's important. And like, if you have if someone has a crazy game, it's like, then we're going back to the back after and we're meeting with the social guy and being like, how can we, repurpose this for the next day? So then there's another person, an editor that's on next day stuff. So it's a whole nother thing of content. That's like, what did we get from tonight that we can pop up tomorrow? It's all these different mouths. You have Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and we don't do TikTok, but
unfortunately,
I would love the talk, but
yeah, you guys would crush on the talk.
We would murder the talk, but there's a lot of different social mouths to feed, and we're posting some nights I'm sending off like maybe 10 pieces of video content, maybe 15 if we have like a crazy game, and some nights maybe 5. It just depends.
Was that similar in college? Was it?
No, college we didn't do live game content. And if we did, it was like a shit show. It'd be like, I'm on the field, I got the touchdown, and I was right at the end zone, and it was crazy. My boss texts me, I got it too from the other angle. Then a runner goes and grabs the cards, and then I'm literally sprinting like half a mile back to not half a mile actually. We did a few different ways. We had a laptop on the field. I'd just book it back to the media room. I'm sitting on the ground with my headphones on. It's loud as shit. I can't hear anything. And I'm like, oh God, I have my song already picked out from the night before. And I'm just put a cut, put a speed ramp, put a color, bang, send it off to the social team, and then they posted it.
Nice.
Yeah, but that process took way longer, way more stressful than what I do now.
I wonder, obviously you've been out of college for a few years. I wonder if they've switched their process.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I wonder if different teams, like what they're doing nowadays, it's probably changed a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Hit me with your three big tips that you could leave the listener with to shoot better content? I know we talked about one. We have anticipate the shot, right?
Yeah.
I think that comes with spending more time around each team.
That's why, you know, I said like warm-ups aren't very important, but if you're new to this stuff or you want to be great at it, warm-ups are very important because you get the timing down of these guys. And like I remember from shooting the NBA to shooting like a high school team, it is just like these guys are completely different, obviously, right? But the timing of it is what's so different. And the level of play at the G League is way faster than the NBA. So they're running like way, they're just going bam, 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 you know? And in the NBA, some of the play depends on what team you're playing is slowed down a little bit. They're running the clock down.
Totally.
A lot more, a completely different pace. And that's hard to get your timing down with, especially if you're pulling focus. So that's tough. And I started pulling focus my second year because I was shooting from freaking like just the top of the Staples Center, and it kept rack focusing on the bleachers from behind because I was up so high because I was kind of you know, shooting down at them, and I was like, I'm never gonna miss a shot ever again. I'm gonna figure this out. And I missed so many shots pulling focus, but I am crispy at pulling focus.
So nice at it.
Especially with basketball because it's so fast, and ball tracking too. Like you got to keep the ball in the center. It looks like shit if you don't, and it looks like shit if the ball goes out of the frame. It's like my biggest pet peeve. It's like, especially if you're say you're filming a player walking, like headroom, it's important. Don't cut off their head.
Yeah.
You know, little things like that, and like the ball specifically, like it makes me so mad when I miss a ball track. I'm like, I'm not sending this. This isn't good.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's not good. And it's crazy when you're on the floor. It's way harder to track the ball than it is if you're like up 5 rows, because I kind of have a pretty solid idea of where the players are at on the court. But when you're on the floor, sometimes you're blocked by people, and if a guy walks in front of you, it's like, and they swing a pass, it's like, damn it, I missed the ball, and then you miss the play, you know? So you really got to be paying attention and have an understanding of the game that you're playing. And I wasn't the biggest sports fan when I got that job, but it's made me learn so much about basketball because I want to be better at what I'm doing. And now I know a lot about basketball. And like, I'll give you like one example of this. If AD and LeBron are on the court and they're more towards the middle, like where the free throw line's at, and I see AD set a pick and LeBron gets by on the left and AD's on the right, and there's one defender right there, it's a lob to Anthony Davis, baby, and I'm getting that shot because I know it's coming and I'm ready for it. I'm like, oh, there's the ball's gonna fly. And alley-oops and putback dunks, those are like some of the hardest plays to capture, because especially if you're zoomed in and you're tight, you don't know where the ball's gonna, you know. So I'm already anticipating going up with them already, and I land it, you know. And same with like the threes. If you have the corner of your eye, you're like, oh, okay. Like back in the day, KCP, you know, he's in the corner. I'm like, okay, if it starts going around the wheel, I'm like, I'm ready for the corner three from KCP. So I'm like anticipating that swing. So I'm already kind of like cheating a little bit, shooting, you know, more towards the corner. Little things like that really make your stuff better.
Absolutely.
And make it stand out.
Hit me with another tip.
Okay. Number 2, stay on the shot longer than you think. In college, I used to always just touchdown end.
Yeah.
And I missed so much stuff.
Yeah.
Most of the best, like,
you're missing those touchdown sellies, dude?
No, I know. I know, right? But now it's like, my boss at Oregon told me this and it stuck with me. He's like, always shoot 5 to 10 seconds longer than the play, or longer than when you're about to press stop. 5 to 10 seconds.
That's a great tip.
Yeah. And he's like, always right when you're about to do it, just be like, okay, 5-10 seconds. Let's chill out real quick. Let's just see what happens. And you can feel the momentum and the energy, right? So it's like, okay, I'm good. And then you press end and you're good. No harm, no foul. You know, maybe a little bit of extra storage, you'll survive. But that single tip has gotten me some of my favorite and best shots. And it's not because the action that happened, it's because the reaction after. Or like, I remember this specific play this year, like LeBron hit this shot, this crazy tomahawk dunk, and I was on the floor and he was like, I'm that motherfucker. And I was like, let's go, dude, come on. And I was like, yeah, let's go. But I was right there. Like but that shot doesn't happen if you stop.
Yeah.
And you missed a whole moment that's like embedded in history.
Yeah.
Which is, and you could like, I missed the biggest Russ dunk this year. And I was so pissed at myself because I was editing a video, and this happens a lot, specifically with the Lakers. I don't know if other teams, you know, we're editing the stuff live, and that's how we're able to get it out so fast. But when that happens, sometimes you miss stuff. And I saw Russ at the top of the key at a timeout. I'm like, there's no way like anything happens right here. It was a timeout. I'm like, there's no dunk that's gonna maybe a 3, a drive, layup, whatever. And I see him get by a guy, and I go, oh God, it's Russ and Rudy Gobert. And I'm like, oh, Russ is flying. I'm like, oh my God. And then like I was just watching it because I was so mesmerized by what just happened. And then I whipped out the camera and I got his reaction. It was a really sick reaction. So I sent off the reaction because I was editing. That's tough, but that happens. And you just got to try and get the next one.
Yeah, I feel like you're never going to get everything.
No. And that was that's a weird game that I'd play with in my head. I'd be like, I want to get every shot tonight. It would never happen because you'd be doing something or like you have a different duty to fulfill. But and another one, I think, make that reel the best, baby. Work on it, dude. Add to it. Change it. Besides a reel being too long, is there maybe something you see between like an amateur reel and someone who's been in the game for a minute? Absolutely. Focal lengths. Amateur reels look like they're all shot at 24 or all shot at 15 or whatever. Usually always look like they're at one focal length. They usually don't have sound design. They also usually have a bad color grade. The lighting is usually poor. And like a lot of the times if they're shooting at a day game, which sucks if you get a noon game, that's just tough. But backlight your subject. Like work with what you got, try and make it look as pretty as possible. Don't front lit a subject when the fucking sun is at 2 p.m. just directly above them. It makes them look, the sun's in their eyes. They look silly, So try and backlight them, and you'd be so shocked what just little things like that can make your videos look 95 times better. Totally. So that's a big one is just like watch those videos all over again, cut the fat. I always tell people that, cut the fat. Boom, snip it. Look at it and be like, can I take off a second of this? Totally. And most of the time they can. And people, a lot of people that I DM with, they might think I'm being an ass, but I'm just trying to like help you. Totally. Sometimes they need a little tough love. It's like a lot of the nitpickiness of like cutting the fat of shots. You just lost 15 seconds on the video, and that's a completely different piece of content now that you've cut out those 15 seconds. Totally. Well, dude, I think this has been a great fucking pod. Dude, I'm excited. Yeah. So again, real quick, like what can people expect to learn and take away from this pod or from your course if they take it? So if you're listening, like the wait list is probably open right now. Great. So go to thecreatorcoach.com. It's open. This is a 6-week program that has videos ranging from the intro, the basics of videography, aperture, like stuff like that, right? It's like probably 15 or 20 videos on that. Then we go into filming, another 15, 20 videos on that. And then editing, there's 22 videos on editing because I love editing and I think it's very important. It separates rooks from pros. And then we got just a couple of videos on reel development, but that's because my whole point of this is to give you feedback on said reel. By the time this 6-week program's done, you're going to have a badass reel and I'm going to have given you live feedback on it. And I think that's something that's like incredible. So I want everyone to come out of this with work that's great. You got homework. This is a class. This is a 6-week class and you don't have to do it. I'm not going to but you should do it. Yeah. And it's going to be fun because I think this will be the next generation of sports video creators. It's going to be awesome. And what's going to come along with that is community too. It's like a lot of you are probably from a place where you might be the only person that has a camera and is doing this stuff. And it's insane that when we get on these weekly calls, like those are the most fun thing in my week that I look forward to is sitting on these calls with like all these awesome people who are passionate and trying to get good at this thing and helping them get better. And what's cool is you get to learn from Billy in Iowa. You get to learn from John in the Philippines. You get to learn from me in California. You get to learn from all of these different people all across the world, all trying to do one thing. And it's be good at making sports videos. So I think that the next few weeks are going to be crazy for me because I'm going to put my head down and grind and get this incredible product out to the people. And then, dude, we're getting after it. 6 weeks, we're locking in. And then, if you don't get in, you better put your name on the wait list because I'm closing. I'm not going to let everybody into this. I promise you, you're not guaranteed a spot in the program. So if you want a spot in the program, DM me right now. If you're listening still, DM me on Instagram. I will see it and say course and we'll talk. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to wrap up episode number 34 of the 505 pod. If you're still here, please lob a screenshot up on your story. Send this to a friend that wants to get in the sports industry, and let's have an amazing rest of our week. Peace.